I want to tell you about something I saw with my own eyes. Something that didn't make the news, but should have. It happened on a cold Monday morning, one of those days when the sky is gray and everything feels a little heavier than usual. I was standing in line at the county courthouse, just trying to get ahead of the day. I wasn't expecting anything unusual, just paperwork, maybe a short hearing, and then back to work. But then, something happened that I can't forget. That morning, Judge Vanessa Cole pulled up and stepped out of her car. Anyone who's worked around the courthouse knows her. She's one of the few black female judges in our district, and honestly, one of the most respected. She's known for being fair, patient, and incredibly smart. The kind of judge who actually listens, who gives people a chance. She carries herself with quiet strength, never arrogant, never loud. Just strong, in that calm way that comes from having overcome a lot. She walked toward the side entrance, the one reserved for court officials, judges, attorneys, staff. That entrance has no long line, just a quick pass through security. She had her files in one hand and her coffee in the other, dressed neatly like always. I saw her nod at a few people in passing, like she usually does. Polite, professional, graceful. But then, out of nowhere, the bailiff on duty stepped right in front of her. He wasn't rude at first, just firm. But it was clear he didn't recognize her. He held up his hand and said, "Ma'am, this entrance is for court officials only. You'll need to go through the public line." For a moment, there was silence. You could feel the shift in the air. Everyone around paused, unsure of what was going on. Judge Cole looked confused, just for a second, but then answered calmly. "I am a court official," she said. "I'm Judge Cole." You'd think that would have been enough. You'd think that name alone would carry the weight it's earned over the years. But the bailiff just stared at her like he didn't believe her. He tilted his head and said, "Do you have any ID?" That's when the whole crowd changed. The people in line, the staff at the door. Everyone suddenly got real quiet. I felt this tightness in my chest, because I knew what this was. We all knew what it was. She was a black woman, and in that moment, that's all he saw. She didn't argue. She didn't raise her voice. She just set her coffee down slowly, reached into her coat pocket, and handed over her ID. Her face didn't show anger, just a deep kind of disappointment. One that comes from being too used to this kind of thing. One that says, "Here we go again." The bailiff looked at her ID for far too long, like he still wasn't sure. He didn't apologize. He didn't step back with any kind of respect. He just said, "All right," and moved aside. She picked up her coffee, walked past him, and went into the courthouse without saying another word. But that moment stuck with everyone who saw it. I kept thinking about how she must have felt. To show up at the place where she's worked for years, the place where she's made hard decisions, helped families, given second chances, and be told she didn't belong. To be questioned at the door of her own courtroom, as if her presence needed to be justified. Some people tried to excuse it. Maybe the bailiff was new. Maybe he was just doing his job. But let's be honest. If she had been a white man in a suit, would he have stopped her? Would he have asked for ID? I don't think so. I've seen plenty of people walk through that entrance without being questioned. Word got around fast. Other court staff were upset. A few attorneys were shaking their heads, saying how unfair it was. A couple of them even approached her later, trying to offer support. She thanked them, but didn't say much. She just kept doing her job. That's the thing about Judge Cole. She's not one to complain. She doesn't make a scene. But the way she carried herself after that, you could tell it hurt. Not in a loud, dramatic way, but in the quiet way that cuts deeper. The way that says, even with all I've achieved, I'm still not seen. Still not believed. A few days later, Word came down that the bailiff had been reassigned to a different post. There was no big announcement, just a quiet shift in the daily routine. People noticed, of course. Some whispered that he got off easy. Others shrugged and said, "At least they did something." But I wasn't sure what to feel. The courthouse released a short statement, carefully worded, like all official statements are. They said they were reviewing their procedures, and that all staff would be required to attend bias training in the coming weeks. Maybe that's something. Maybe it's a step. But if I'm honest, it felt thin, like trying to cover a deep wound with a small bandage. Because training can't fix what someone refuses to see. You can't teach empathy to someone who doesn't think they need it. And when the damage has already been done, words on paper don't carry much weight. Especially not when they're meant to soften the blow instead of take full responsibility. But I'll tell you what I do know. What I feel in my gut even now. What happened that morning wasn't just a misunderstanding. It wasn't just one man not recognizing a judge. It was a moment that peeled back the curtain on something much deeper. Something far too common. It was a reminder that no matter how high you climb, no matter how hard you work, some people will still only see your skin before they see your title, your gender before they see your wisdom, your face before they recognize your humanity. That morning, Judge Cole wasn't treated like a respected leader in the justice system. She wasn't seen as a professional, or even as someone with a name. She was treated like a stranger, like a threat, like someone who didn't belong. And that breaks my heart. Because Judge Cole has spent years fighting for fairness, for others. She sat in courtrooms and made hard decisions, guided by the law and by her compassion. She's helped people rebuild their lives. She's offered grace where others might not. She has shown what true justice looks like. Not just with her rulings, but with how she carries herself, day in and day out. She deserved better. She deserved a moment of respect. A simple acknowledgement of who she is and what she's earned. But instead, she was made to feel small, invisible, doubtful in her own space. And that's not just wrong, it's damaging. Because moments like that don't just sting. They stay with you. They plant seeds of pain that grow over time. We can't pretend it didn't matter just because she handled it with grace. Her silence wasn't approval. It was strength. A kind of strength that too many people have to carry just to make it through the day. And that's why we have to do better. We have to open our eyes and see people. Not just their uniforms, not just their names, but their worth. We have to challenge our biases, even the quiet ones we think don't matter. We have to hold each other accountable, not just when the cameras are rolling, but in those everyday moments when no one's watching. And most of all, we have to speak up. Even when it's uncomfortable. Even when it's just a whisper against something that feels too big to change. Because every voice matters. Every act of courage, no matter how small, pushes things forward. Because sometimes the quiet moments reveal the loudest truths, and this one screamed.